Chase, and welcome to Cut to the Chase at 8 with Queen MC. That's me, Madison Chase. We are in this place. Let's digitally, virtually chat face to face. And you know what today is? It's Friday, so that means we remix hashtag FBF. So instead of Flashback Fridays, we got Favorite Brand Fridays. And on this Favorite Brand Friday, I have one of my favorite friends, my brother from another mother, Michael Dyer.
Yo, what's up? What's up? Madison, you're amazing. How you doing, sister?
I am fantastic. You are amazing too. So, Michael Dyer and I have known each other for
forever.
Yeah, we're not gonna say how long exactly, but we've been
over 10 years, right?
It's been over 10 years. We actually met at Hill Harper.
Hill Harper's house.
He used to do an amazing event. It was kind of like Bible study, but not Bible study. And it was called Tuesday Night Circles. On Tuesday nights, we would get together and we would just, we chat and we talk about some of the things that we were passionate about and some of the things that we wanted to change and people, relationships. We talked about some of everything, but that's how I met Michael Dyer. And Michael, you've done a ton of things, but I think this is like your purpose. I feel like your book and even the name is so appropriate for the times that we're living in. So why and what inspired you to write this time-sensitive book that's so necessary for today?
Well, first of all, I want to say I came out to Los Angeles to be an actor. I want to be this famous actor. I want to get all the love, the fame. And what happened was that I would find myself, walking into the room, but more so to get the job, it seemed like I was looking for approval. It seemed like my validation, seemed like all the things it seemed like my life and my character depended on if I got that job or not. My worth depended on if I got that job.
Right.
So I was making this industry establish my worth. When all the time, I thought that God wanted to establish my worth, that I was valuable. But until I walked in the room, see, it's easy to say, I'm a strong Christian, I believe in God. But then if the walking is not matching the talking, then it's just what you call talking. And so what I realized is that I was talking a good fight. I believe in this and I believe that. But I found myself walking in the room and I wanted the approval of the director. I wanted the approval of everybody in the room. Yeah, everybody's in the room. And so it didn't work out that well for me, at that time. And so I started looking inside of myself. And so what I did is that I wrote this book called Woke. And I wrote this book because I wanted to say, if I could go back in time and give myself a book, what book would I have given myself?
Wow.
That's why I wrote it.
And it's this book that you would have written to yourself if you could go back 10, 15 years ago, and this is a book that you would have wanted. These are the things that you would want to say to Michael Dyer, back then. Ooh, that's beautiful. I love that. So let's talk about the subtitle. So the title of the book is called Woke. The subtitle is Change Your Perception, Change Yourself, Change Your Life.
Yes.
Why that order of the subtitle?
Well, what I realized is that, I can change my clothes, I can change my name, but I need to change the way I see things. So changing my perception first. First is an inside job. So if I began to change what's inside of me, then I began to change myself, and then I began to change my life. See, that's why it works. So as you begin to change the way you see yourself, tell a different story about yourself. No matter how you grew up, you can tell a different story. And then at the same time, once you do that, you begin to change yourself. And only until then you begin to change your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Because I think perception can be reality, right? And then sometimes depending on what you say you believe in and what you have faith for, it doesn't always look like that in the natural. So the supernatural, we do live in two different realms. We got the natural and then we got the supernatural. So, there is a spiritual world too, to how we live. So changing your perception is also changing your spirit too as well.
I agree with that, because when you said spiritual life, I feel that I was seeing myself only as a human being instead of a spiritual being. So I had to change the way I was beginning to look at life. Looking at life from a human being point of view is very difficult. There's a lot of victimhood that's involved in that. Seeing myself from a spiritual point of view, there's being victorious, being able to know that who I'm connected to, what I'm plugged into, who is my source. See, I believe that I was believing that the world was my source. And so every time I believe that the world is my source, it's going to let me down.
All the time.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. The world will let you down.
And so what I did is that I realized that I was making, things establish my worth. The kind of car I drove, the clothes I wore, who I knew, how many friends I got, how many likes I got. All those things begin to establish my worth, but those things can be taken away.
Absolutely. And I think that's a people generally associate materialism with a big city, like LA or like New York, where you have the performing arts, you have the entertainment industry. So because those things, or you see them so often, it's only natural that you aspire to get those things, right? And so that totally makes sense.
So how did you overcome, being in the industry yourself? What was the thing where you became woke? Or
I think when you move to a different city, like there are certain things that really can be stressful, right? And I think when you add on top of, the expectations that you sometimes put on yourself, right? Because I moved to LA for acting too, but I got caught in fitness. Not that was always my passion, and it still is my passion, but in terms of telling stories, that's also a passion for me. I think I do it differently now, but I think the thing that really woke me up is I stopped listening to what people said and I started watching what they did. And so for me, when your words and because I'm a trusting person and probably very too trusting, and I also think I'm a person where I want to help, like I'm a helper, and I've always been that way. So I've learned three things. One, you can't help everybody. Two, look at people's fruit and what does that look like. And then three, do people's words match up with their actions towards you? So I think I really got woke just here recently. I think living in the circumstances that we're living in, like I really started to reevaluate a lot of things about my life and how people deal with me and how I deal with people. And so I would say I'm just recently woke, but then also really being more prayerful about the times that we're living in. So I would definitely say I'm more awake now than when I first moved to LA. But I love that your book is a book about what you wish you would have known before moving to LA.
Right. Matter of fact, it goes back further than that. As a child, I wrote this book as if I was giving this to my 10-year-old self.
That's good, Michael Dyer, because I really think people understand the way you have to teach a child, right? So when you're learning a language, right, you're almost like really trying to reprogram your brain, and like the best way to learn a new language is if you were teaching a child. So the best way to learn how to change your perception and change yourself and then change your life is you have to almost go from like the childlike kind of faith that you have. And I'm reading this book by Dr. Sharon Nesbitt. That's also one of my other favorite brands. It's called The 7 Supernatural, I can't remember the exact name. And then my other friend, she wrote a book and it's called The Power of Prayer. And so literally they're both talking about like supernatural, like, you know what I'm saying? Like really what you're talking about. So yeah, I think that those things in terms of like your spirit, like I think because we live in fleshly bodies, we oftentimes don't give ourselves the things that our spirit needs. Right. Because it's a little bit more, I think we think it's more challenging to access when we aren't really tapping into it, the way that we could and the way that we should, because it's kind of like a foreign practice, right?
Yeah, tapping into it, I think is powerful when you said that word, tapping into that. So tapping into it to me means the fact is that you don't have to go get it. It's already there. Now you get to tap into it.
Yeah.
You know, and I talk a lot about that in my book about tapping into the source instead of trying to feel like it's something outside of yourself that you're separated from, but now it's something that you're one with. And only until then that I realized that my career, my life began to turn around, because what happened to me is that the harder I was trying to be this actor, the harder I would walk in that room. Let me just be honest with you. It got so bad for me because my livelihood depended on me working or not. You know, if I didn't get a job, an acting job, that means I couldn't pay my rent. That means I couldn't eat. That means, so walking into a room with that much pressure, knowing that I'm supposed to walk in a room with joy and happiness, like, oh, I'm so glad to be here. I get to show them my gifts and my talents. I get to pretend. It wasn't that for me. I was walking in the room as if, please give me the job because I need to eat.
Yeah.
I need to, my rent is due. My car is about to get repossessed, please. And I had an inner dialogue. I never shared it with anybody, but I had an inner dialogue in my head. Hey guys, if y'all gave me the job, I'll do it for less than the next guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
That was my inner dialogue that I was saying. I would compromise myself so you can understand why people would sell their soul sometimes for this industry. You know, but I'm just be real with you. Not until I gave it up, all of a sudden I get a TV show. It's on Urban Movie Channel called Stuck With You. A friend of mine, Tara. I don't know if you know Tara.
I don't know Tara. I know Patricia.
But anyways, you know Patricia, right? You know Patricia, right? So she told me about this audition. And I walk in, then just walk in the first, the lady loved me. I'm in there working. So it lets you know when you let go, you can let God be God.
Yeah.
See what I did, I was making this industry my God. And I asked everybody out there, who are you making your God? Yeah. Because you can tell who you're making your God by where your attention goes. And when you feel afraid about something, you know now that person or that thing become your God. It can be your man, your woman. It can be your house, your car. Who is your God?
Yeah, where you spend your time is where you worship, right? You know, it's how you worship, literally, you know, with your money, with your time, people. But also learn too, like I've learned a very interesting lesson too in terms of like people. Like I would say my friend Paula is definitely like one of my mentors. And, you know, oftentimes people talk about church hurt and leaving churches and going to other churches, but the thing that I learned about, you know, pastors and pastoring people, like there's a difference. Like if someone can preach and teach, and just because you go to theology school doesn't make you a pastor. Like the pastor is the dealing with the people, right? Because the people ultimately are the church. And so the thing that really kind of got me over, like, oh, you know what? I never thought about that. He was like, not everybody has the heart or the temperament to pastor people, which is a different kind of ministry than teaching. Teaching and preaching is one thing, teaching, preaching, and pastoring, whole other thing, right? So that really like changed my perspective on like, who do I sit under and who do I allow to speak into my spirit too? And so my friend Paula has really like changed and opened up my eyes to like really being mindful about who you allow to speak into your spirit too.
Why didn't you allow this industry to suck you in and suck you up? And how'd you get past that?
You know, I think because I've always been kind of like an individual, right? Like I've always kind of had the idea of beating to my own drums, but also too, I think I'm more in a space of let me create the things that I want to see. Because even now, when I look at television, even looking at streaming platforms, I'm like, I still don't see what I want to see on TV. I still don't see positive images of brown-skinned little girls. Like,
right.
The Ray's Insecure was kind of like the first, but you know, I still don't see myself in there because they use a lot of profanity. They're talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like, I still don't see me. And I do know that there are other women out there, like there's a reason why she has such a huge impact in telling a little brown girl story, and why so many people were so like finally I get to see myself, and it's not just on Real Housewives of Atlanta. You know, it's not that. It really is someone having a, not even a millennial, but just an experience with love, relationship, and it has a positive outcome. So I think that that's why I still am in the process of wanting to create something that I want to see, and I've realized that you can't wait for somebody to give you an opportunity. You have to do it yourself, which is radio. So I'm inspired by that and creating content on my own. And I think because I like telling stories. That's one of the reasons why I started doing this podcast, because I like telling stories. I like talking to people. So this is kind of like a natural extension of storytelling, but without, kind of the way we're used to seeing it. So I didn't get sucked in, Michael Dyer. I think when I moved to LA, I always was like, you know what? I am not going to do anything my mom would not be proud of. From casting couches to compromising my morals and how I was raised. I was like, yeah, I don't ever want to do anything I wouldn't be proud that my mama wouldn't be proud of, and or that, my Heavenly Father wouldn't be proud of too. So that's why.
There's something about me that I recognized when I was out here that I became very depressed.
That's a very real thing, Michael Dyer.
Yeah. And I couldn't understand, why am I depressed? I moved to Los Angeles from Memphis to do what I love. Why am I depressed? And I think because I was taking everything personal. Like when I would get rejected in the room, I took it personal. They were rejecting me. And that's the big mistake.
Yeah. And I think in terms of, the industry, it can, we've seen the industry spit people out, take them in and spit them out when they're done, because, there's always that idea of what the one person who will say no, there's 100 more people that will say yes. So I think in terms of, what you're speaking about, like, I think it's easy to find your identity in a thing. Like, entertainment is one thing, because people literally in entertainment, we don't think it happens on people's everyday jobs. Like, it could still happen where you could be excited about being the manager or the supervisor or the regional manager or whatever position you're in, where that thing could still be the thing that consumes you. So I think having the ability and the freedom to make different choices, because even when you talked about going into the room, I remember when I got into pharmaceutical sales and then I was still auditioning, I just remember it was a different kind of me going into that room, because I wasn't worried about how am I going to pay my rent. I wasn't worried about my company car. You know what I'm saying? I had a company car, so I wasn't worried about my insurance. I wasn't worried about those things. But so it was a different me going into the room when I did audition for certain things. So that's an interesting. I can't wait to read your book, Michael Dyer.
Please read it. It talks a lot about what you just said. Is that you weren't afraid anymore because you were no longer allowing the industry to be your source. And so having that, just relating that to a spiritual walk, relating that to God. If I, like you said, that your job gave you that sense of, you know what, I'm cool. I want everybody to recognize that there's a power that exists, that is with us, that offers us that same security.
Yeah.
There's a power that walks with me, that guides me, that got my back, that it is my source. And I think the biggest mistake I've ever made, thinking that my source was outside of me. And I think that, and it can be transferred, like you said, it could be somebody working a job. Because I remember working a job, and I remember every time my boss would call me, I would get nervous.
Wow.
Because I would think, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Now, I would never think like, oh man, they must call me and want to offer me a raise.
Yeah.
What did I do wrong? Oh my, I see the number come up. okay, what did I do wrong? Did I do anything wrong? Did I mess up? Because my livelihood depended on that person. And this is an ongoing thing for a lot of people. Who are we giving our power to? You know, what are we afraid of? You know, it can be whatever. Matter of fact, it can be in relationships, you know, where you're afraid to lose someone, so you allow them to abuse you.
Ooh, and verbally abuse too, because I'm dealing with a situation now, or coming out of a situation where I live with someone, and I think it's easy for people to talk about physical abuse, right? Because you hit me, and then if I remove myself, I may get a bruise, right? But the mental abuse that sometimes people play, especially when you're dealing with a mental illness, right? It's a whole other thing that you have to kind of like play back and not blame. I'm struggling with not blaming myself for not seeing the signs that this person had a mental illness, not seeing the signs that something was really wrong with her, that, you know, she's got 2 other restraining orders filed against her, but I didn't know that. But I didn't know that, and we'll say things like, oh, she crazy, but in our community, crazy isn't really dealt with in the same way that it should be. It isn't taken seriously. And it also, especially in the church, like, I do believe in the power of prayer, but I also believe in the power of being medicated, because some people do have a chemical imbalance in their brain, and then depending on what kind of traumas you've experienced in your life, you need some medical, you know, something medical to help you with a chemical imbalance in your brain. Yep. And, you know, I didn't know the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath, but now I do, because I am a researcher, and I'm like, how did I not see that? And then how did people who dealt with people who've had mental illnesses see it and I didn't see it? And, you know, me being the helper and wanting to try to help people, I thought I could help her, but sometimes you have to help yourself and protect yourself. And so mental abuse is, you know, unweaving yourself out of that is a whole other thing that, you know, I've never had to do, but I'm having to do now, you know, in the midst of what everybody else is going through, you know, people who...
Yeah, but you couldn't see it because it wasn't part of your reality.
No, it wasn't.
You know, until it became a part of your reality. Oh, wow, it became part of your awareness.
Yeah.
So what you experience is no guilt. There's no way you could have seen it because you know, it's just not there. So now that you know, these are lessons. These are lessons that I think Spirit gives us, the universe gives us, God gives us, so that we can learn and grow.
Absolutely.
And that's in any and every situation. Yeah. You know, I had a friend that woke up with somebody and she was devastated.
Yeah.
And she couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
She couldn't get out of bed. She couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
All she wanted to do was just escape.
Yeah.
At one point, she got medicated.
Yeah.
And as I was coaching her, my thing was, let's look at the lesson you learned from this.
Yeah.
You know, what lesson did you walk away with this that can make you stronger?
Yep. And I also think, too, the young lady that I was talking to who started Supermarket, like, the lesson started with her, right? Like, she started to see a lot of people who were passing away from different illnesses that could have been potentially because of the food and the, you know, our relationship with food and our relationship with how we, especially in our community, how we do soul food. And literally, she became vegan when she went to college. And then when she moved back to California from going to an HBCU, Howard University, she said as a vegan, she couldn't find food in her neighborhood. And she's like, you know, I guess living on the East Coast, she's never driven. So she was like, I was literally taking a bus and it would take me 2 hours to find food that was organic and, you know, and healthy, like fresh fruits and vegetables. She was like, I couldn't find it in my neighborhood. So now this mission started with her, and then it started with her family. Like, you know, after she was a vegan for so long, they're like, wow, your skin looks great. Wow, you know, you have a different kind of peace about you. Like, all of these things that were, you know, a byproduct of her vegan lifestyle. And then it was her family. Then it was a business. And then she got it just started to kind of grow from her, like, taking care of self, right? And so I think in my situation, I'm like, man, I want to make sure that I know experiences what I had to experience with this person who will probably never be treated in the way, because it really is hard to give someone committed. And that is the lesson for me. Like, man, how can I make everybody else aware of what these things are when someone is a psychopath, when someone is a sociopath, when someone is struggling with mental illness?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So what would you tell a young lady that's taking on a roommate? I mean, now that you've gone through it, how would you tell, like, if your little sister or a young lady is getting ready to start something, move in with somebody, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to do a background check. I would also say make sure that if the person doesn't have any friends, that's probably a red flag. Like, if they have no friends, like, let me talk to 3 of your friends and let me see what kind of character they say that you have. And when I tell you this person had no friends, so this is the advice I would have given myself, because literally she doesn't have friends because of the way that she, like, the imbalance in how she treats people, right? So that would be thing number 2. Thing number 3, I would say, make sure you check to see if they have restraining orders. Because if they have restraining orders with a man filing a restraining order, if they did that to a man, there's no limit what they'll do to you, right? Because you have no fear if you're doing that to men. So with a woman, it's, it doesn't really matter. So I would say, but the thing about restraining orders is that they expire. Mm-hmm. So you can't necessarily always check, but ask your friends, like that was the thing too, and me talking just to, one of my guy friends, he actually had referred this young lady to live with one of his friends, and she had a very similar experience as mine. So I would ask around, like ask people, do they know of people that this person has lived with? I would definitely say that. And if they don't have friends, like that's a huge one. Like
you want to find out why.
Why don't you have friends? Like, and you could, like, that is one of the signs of someone who is a psychopath. And literally, I understand why she doesn't have friends, because some of the things that she's done to me, like literally, she is telling herself that she didn't do it, or she's justifying why she did what she did to me, because that is someone who is mentally unstable. And then there's no remorse. Like, they have no remorse for the things that they do to you. And so that's why they could continue to do it to somebody else, because they have no remorse for it. So.
You think that if y'all spent time together, maybe before you moved in with, you would have saw it?
I don't know if we did kind of, there were certain things that I didn't notice. Like, I noticed that her language was very dark, very dark. Like, she would say stuff like, oh, I'm deathly allergic to this. I'm deathly allergic to this. If you're deathly allergic to something, you would be dead.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So just the almost like an exaggeration, but an exaggeration is really a lie. Like, if I'm allergic to something, I'm just going to say, oh yeah, my eyes, I'm allergic to pet dander. I'm not going to say I'm deathly allergic, because if I'm deathly allergic, I'm taking a, what do you call those pens where you could, basically a pen that you could.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. I can't think of it, but yes, like you would take one of those. It's an EpiPen.
EpiPen, yes, yes.
EpiPen. You would have an EpiPen with you. So if you're deathly allergic to something, so I didn't really put together her like really exaggerated language and the truth, right? And then that's one of the other things too that's a sign for someone who is a psychopath, is that they are a hypochondriac. Like, in part of that is the attention, right? Like, you want attention because you're not getting it, because you don't have friends, so you want attention from people. So it's always these exaggerated, feel sorry for me, this happened, and it's not really true.
But don't you think that this is something you should do in every relationship you get into? I mean, like, we start dating, we go out with certain people. I mean, this is probably across the board something one should do.
In terms of relationships, it absolutely is, Michael Dyer. It is definitely something you should do in terms of relationship. But I think there is comfort, like, in dating, right? Like, you know, I know the last guy that I was kind of dating, I've known him for like more than 10 years.
How do you count to date somebody?
Michael Dyer! That's a question. Date somebody. I mean, you kind of date somebody when nothing is really established, right? Like, dating could be like, we're going to the movies, right, we're going to dinner, you know what I'm saying? But kind of dating means it hasn't really been established. If you're dating exclusively, if you're dating with the intent to get married, if you're you know what I'm saying? So that's why I say kind of.
Okay.
Because it was never a conversation. And I feel like I shouldn't be the person to have the conversation, but I guess I hate feeling like I gotta have the conversation, but you know.
But if you don't, who? Should we wait till the guy starts to, I mean, when you think about it, but a lot of women feel that way.
Yeah.
I think that we're in a new day. I think the new day, the new time is, the fact is, let's get to know who you are. Let's be authentic. Let's be real, and just really have a real conversation, and not leave it up, you know, to someone else to initiate. Are we dating now? Are we dating now? You know, at what point do we recognize that? Okay, is it time now? Are we? You know, how do you know? I mean.
Well, you know what? I think part of the not asking for a woman from a woman's perspective is that it takes the idea of being pursued out of it, right? Because now it's like, you're not pursuing me. I'm trying to get clarity on what this is or what this isn't, right? You know, like with this particular guy, like he did something and I blocked him. I blocked his number. I blocked him. Like, obviously you don't value me. So let me show you how much I value myself. Bye-bye. Nice knowing you. I'll see you when I see you. And then literally, I think he sent me Facebook Messenger or something. And he was like, did you block me? And I was like, yep, sure did. And here's why. But again, like, you have to take back your value. You know what I'm saying? And so do I want to have the conversation like, look, here's why I blocked you. We probably need to go back to that conversation. Here's why I blocked you. Here's what I don't like. And here's what I expect. Like, if we're dating, this is what I expect. If we're not dating, this is what I expect. Like,
but that conversation never happened, though.
It never happened. But
and who? So, because we all assume that conversation should have happened in the beginning.
No, but should it though?
This is what I expect, and this is what you know, put it on the table. I think you should put it on the table.
Okay, I will, Michael Dyer.
I think we make too many assumptions. And the reason I said it, I've done it myself.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But I also think too, like when you're like, I date online, and I'm probably gonna pull completely back on that because I just saw some video, some girl that met some dude on Tinder and she ended up dead. I was like, oh Lord Jesus. Anyway, but you know, when I'm online, dudes are like, so what are you looking for? I'm like, actually nothing. I'm meeting you. You are a perfectly good stranger. I have no expectations of you whatsoever other than, can we consistently have a conversation and get to know each other? Because I'm going to really do a background check. Like now, that experience that I just dealt with the psycho roommate, I'm literally am going to do a background check when I meet anybody new. I'm like, I'm going to find some kind of app or something where I can put their license plate in. I'm going to find out some stuff about you before I even consider, you know, like I don't give people my cell phone number. I give them my Google Voice number. But I'm not playing with you, and I don't even care how many followers you got on social media, because I've seen some crazy things with, you know, just because you present good on social media doesn't mean your real life persona matches up. You know, like you could post a whole lot of stuff on social media and be a psychopath or a sociopath or a schizophrenic or have all kind of stuff. And it really depends on what kind of traumas you experienced and how you know, reacted to them and how you're still living through them or living in them.
You know, my philosophy is this. I have a background in experiential education. Mm-hmm. And my thing is that you play with that person. You know, you guys do things together because people show you who they are.
Come on, Michael Dyer, relationship coach. Go ahead.
Believe it or not, I created some cards that are relationship cards. I told you about it, right? But the reason I say that because people can easily sit down and have coffee, have tea, and tell you anything you want to hear. They would say, "What do you want?" You know, they can tell you a good story.
Yep.
But when you put them in a challenge, you see how selfish they are. Are they competitive? You see if they're willing to cheat to win. You begin to see things in a game we play with them than you would ever get from a conversation. So as a life coach and as an experiential facilitator, that's what I do. I do that. I get to know somebody. Like I think it was Plato would say, give me 1 hour of play with someone and I can tell you more about that person than a lifetime of conversation.
But
you had a question.
I think during these times, like somebody was saying, this is the worst time to meet somebody. I'm like, no, actually, this is the best time to meet somebody. Because you get to see how they handle stress. You get to see how somebody handles the potential of not having a job, not having money, losing loved ones, somebody in a hospital. Like, you get to see somebody at their potentially, like, their worst ever, right? So if you have a personality where, you know how to talk through your frustrations and not take your frustrations out. Like, I clearly know when I'm frustrated. And I clearly know when I take, like, oh, I said I wanted a black pen, but you gave me a blue pen. I said I wanted black, but then I turned it into something that, you know, that's not even about the blue or the black pen. It really is about what I'm dealing with and what I'm stressing over and what I'm really trying to sort through, that I'm taking it out on the blue or the black pen. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a great way. And I think too, men typically don't really express themselves. And so that's a whole other conversation where women generally talk to each other. We either talking to our mamas, we're talking to our best girlfriend, we're talking to our best guy friend. We're talking. And we're talking it out and we're trying to figure it out. And so I think, you know, that's sometimes the difference when it comes to relationships. So we're going to make this a part 2, Michael Dyer, since we're talking about relationships. So yeah,
we have to.
I'm going to make this second half of the podcast. But what I would love to do is read the book and then come back. And I sent you
a link, too. You can pull it up, show it to people. Like if you go to your chat, if you go to chat, you can pull it up and, you know. And people that's watching, they can see the book and see the title.
Yeah, I think I love the cover of the book and your gorgeous supermodel brown face is beautiful. So
well, thank you. You have to give mom and daddy that credit because I had nothing to do with it.
Well, you got some good genes. You got some good ancestry. Some good Ethiopian ancestry.
Hey, we from kings and queens, girl. Come on.
Michael Dyer, the author of Woke, and it is Change Your Perception, Change Yourself, and then Change Your Life. And
you can find it on Amazon.
You can find it on Amazon.
Yeah, Michael Dyer Woke.
Michael Dyer Woke. That's Dyer.
Yeah.
Yep. And the title of the book is Woke. So Michael Dyer is one of my favorite brands. And so is my friend Paula Bryant Ellis, who she's the creator and director for Behind Her Faith series on UMC as well. And she also has a prayer box. And Dr. Sharon Nesbitt. Let me go get their 2 books. Because you 3 authors are my favorite brands. So it's called The 7 Forces of Supernatural Faith, Michael Dyer.
Oh, wow.
And it's by Dr. Sharon R. Nesbitt.
Beautiful book.
Right? I love the colors, which is so interesting because then my friend Paula, she has the prayer box.
I love it.
Right? Workbook. And then it comes with a journal.
Oh, wow.
Which I've been using. And then it comes with, here's the prayer box.
Wow.
You got your tissue, and I love this because she gave you 2 pens. So the black pen is for something, and I think the red pen is for revelations.
Okay.
God reveals things to you. And then she gave you 2 like communion cups, and there are 3. One of them got crushed, so I got 3 now. Yeah, okay, no, so the black is for inspiration and the red is for revelation.
I love it.
Isn't that dope? So
man, she got a whole kit.
She got a whole kit. But Michael Dyer, I'm so excited. I guess this is like the favorite brand Fridays for my authors. Some of my favorite authors, and you're one of them, and you're definitely one of my favorite people. And we'll have to do another talk on, normally I talk about relationships on Saturdays. I haven't done a podcast about relationships. So we'll have to have you come back and...
yeah, give me back and I can show you my cards, my relationship cards.
Oh, I love it.
And we'll do a couple of questions and stuff and see how deep you are willing to go.
I love it. How deep can you grow?
How deep can you grow?
Get to go. Let's grow.
Let's grow. I love it. Let's grow. Let's expand.
Let's expand, Michael Dyer. So thank you so much. It's been so nice chatting with you.
I know. We need more time because we just went on and on.
I know. But me, Michael Dyer, we could do this anyway because we're both some talkers and we both enjoy talking to each other. So I knew it was gonna be a long one, but I still might split this one up. Like first part, no, I can't split it up. It is what it is. No, all right. Come back and we'll talk relationships because I always think it's good to talk about relationships from a man's perspective.
Yeah.
So that women, obviously, we think differently and how we communicate is different. And so I think having a man's perspective isn't the only perspective, but I think it's a great way to kind of like filter through some of your decisions and choices.
Because I've done a lot of training, work with a lot of relationships. I used to do it, like I said, experiential education, where that I work with people. Mm-hmm. One thing that we would do, we gave couples challenges and see how well they work together. Yeah. And I saw it was a ropes course that we used, and it was this man and woman went up with his girlfriend, and he went up with his girlfriend, and he was on the ground. He was talking stuff. Yeah, I got you, baby. I'm gonna take care of you. When he got there on the top of that pole, she had to come and get him.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did. Because she, for some reason, found the love in her heart. And she was moved by love and taking care of him. Where he was moving by ego and I'm strong and I'm powerful. His knees were shaking. It was such a beautiful thing because it humbled him. Yeah. He got the chance to see what kind of woman he's with.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah, that's really good.
I know what I'm doing.
That's good, Michael Dyer. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And this is my friend, brother from another mother, Michael Dyer. And I am Madison Chase, and this is another episode of Cut to the Chase at 8 with Queen MC. That is me, y'all, and it has been fun having a guest on the podcast. And y'all know I could talk, and clearly Michael Dyer is my equal. Because this just gone almost an hour. So we'll see. I'm going to put it out there, and you can catch us on... Michael Dyer, before we go, where can people find you on your social media?
Yes. Wow. Well, Zen Michael Dyer on Instagram. Okay. And then I have a website called coachwithzen.com. Okay. And you can find my book on Amazon, Michael Dyer Woke. Michael Dyer Woke, and that's what they eat. Yeah. And also you can contact Madison. She can get in touch with me if you need some coaching or anything else that's not on the website or you didn't remember it. Okay. So y'all can find this podcast. It is on, I think, more than 15 different platforms now, so I'm super excited. But you can find me on Instagram because my Instagram got hacked at 22,000. But it is Madison Chase Fitness INC. And I am on Facebook, official Madison Chase Fitness, on Twitter, Madison Chase Fit, which I rarely use,
I am on TikTok, Madison Chase Fitness. I'm excited about doing some dancing stuff on there. And then YouTube is Madison Chase Fitness as well. And my link tree is Madison Chase Fitness. And you can find all of those links right there too. So that's it, y'all. Thank y'all for joining me and my friend, brother from another mother, Michael Dyer.
Thank you.
Thank you.